I've already discussed my general overarching thoughts on the pink diamond twist in a prior video, so now it's time to shift focus a little and discuss some questions that arise as a result of this plot point. Let's jump right into it and start off with the human zoo. Pink Diamond was fascinated by humans and wanted to protect them, and yet she also began an initiative that abducted humans from their home planet and placed them into a zoo. I have a bit of a hard time believing that all the humans gathered for the zoo chose to be volunteers to live in a space facility forever, and I would also imagine that the experience wasn't quite the utopia we saw until Gems learned enough about humans to efficiently program them into a sense of compliance. I'd imagine that the first few generations of human captivity came with a bunch of problems. So what's the deal with the zoo then? It seems cruel from somebody who apparently loved humans. Well, my thought is it was most likely established pretty early on into Earth's colonization. It was probably made when Pink was first becoming intrigued with organic life, but when she still considered humans beneath her. I think the more pertinent question would be why Pink Diamond never put an end to the zoo after she began to mingle with humans and even have flings with them. Considering just how much she was fascinated with the human capability to change, it's weird for her to lock them into a rigid, unchanging social structure where humans don't make any decisions for themselves. Surely by some point before she shattered herself, she should have realized that it's problematic to keep humans in captivity. My bet is it took Pink a while to recognize her error, a couple hundred years at least, but when she asked the current generation of humans at the zoo whether they wanted to leave, they said no, because they didn't know any better, and she listened to them because Pink Diamond isn't always the brightest when it comes to understanding humans. Pink likely thought she was respecting their ability to choose what they want, without realizing those humans were groomed into roles where they no longer even had a frame of understanding that allowed them to have genuine choices. In short, I think Pink Diamond created the zoo out of ignorance, and then allowed it to remain due to another type of ignorance. So, about those interactions Pink Diamond had with humans.
And fondness turned to love.
Was this a heavily vested romantic love, or is this the sort of love for the world Rose Quartz is known for having? I think this question was already answered. Greg was the first person Rose ever fell in love with. It's heavily implied in the episode We Need to Talk that Rose Quartz was not familiar with the sort of emotions Greg had for her at the time, and while she loved many beings, falling in love was something novel for her.
Have you loved other humans?
Have you?
Yes.
Yes.
Have you ever been in love with a human?
How would I know?
It's torture.
I bring this up as a prelude to a much bigger question. Why did Pink Diamond choose to make Steven? A lot of people brought up the possibility that Pink made Steven as another way to run away from her responsibilities. Although she decided to remain as Rose Quartz forever, she remained Pink Diamond beneath her physical appearance, so taking the form of Steven was the ultimate way to leave her persona behind and become something entirely new. I think this is definitely possible, and I'm sure was at least a small subconscious component of her decision. I also feel like this is one of those things we will never know for sure, though. However, as I set up already, Rose did legitimately love Greg, and it's very believable she wanted to bring Steven into the world due to that love. If Rose had not fallen in love with Greg, I don't think she would ever consider giving up her existence to make a new one. Escaping from yourself, wanting to create a new type of being that crosses gem and humankind, all of those ulterior motives that may have played some part aside, Steven was still created out of love first and foremost. At least, I think so. Alright, so next, I have a bunch of questions about the logistics of Pink Diamond's double life, and I'm hoping we at least get a little bit of detail about how she managed to pull it all off in future episodes. First and foremost, let's talk Pink Diamond's powers. In particular, the super powerful shield that, may I remind you, was able to withstand the corrupting blast from the diamonds, and her ability to heal damaged gems, which has been implied to be something unique to the rose quartz.
And who else has the ability to heal gems other than the villainous rose quartz?
Rose quartz was seen as a deviant anomaly by many of the homeworld gems, and I'm sure her powers play into this.
She was made from a vein of hyper-defective quartz. A malformed quartz gone haywire.
It makes sense, of course, for rose quartz to be so powerful since she was a diamond, but my question is, however, did the other diamonds not know what abilities Pink Diamond had? If the powers of rose quartz were indeed unique, which, like I said, I firmly believe they are, that had to be the case. We have to assume, with the information we currently have, that yellow, blue, and white were in the dark about what Pink was capable of, which suggests that Pink developed her abilities after she got Earth as her colony. The ability to heal injured gems especially seems drastically important, and I would figure this power would be massively prized on Homeworld. This power especially, I think Pink must have developed only after falling in love with organic life and launching her rebellion, and she likely developed it as a response to seeing the rebellion's forces being devastated. From my understanding, the narrative will only make sense if Pink Diamond developed her powers after coming to Earth and then kept those powers hidden. I'm also very curious how Pink was able to live a double life without anybody ever catching on to the strange absences of either Pink Diamond or Rose Quartz, especially later into the rebellion. Pink Diamond being gone is probably not a big deal. Lower gems can't really question a diamond, so she can just lock herself in her chamber, demand to be left alone, and not be bothered, and then use a teleporter to go explore the Earth. Rose Quartz needing to conveniently disappear every now and then, especially when Pink is doing something, that seems harder to hide from the rest, especially when Rose was the leader everybody looked up to. That being said, it has been implied that Rose Quartz often went off and did her own thing, even long after the war was over, so perhaps she's always kept up this persona of needing periods of isolation from others. Maybe the crystal gems never had questions arise about Rose being gone, because outside of missions, she would always be out and about anyway. Like I said, I just hope we get a few brief glimpses here and there, perhaps as a story from Pearl, of the ins and outs of how Pink lived her double life without anybody ever catching on. As for Pink Diamond staying transformed for long periods of time, yes, Amethyst may get tired when maintaining a transformation for a few hours, but you would figure a diamond would have the capability to maintain a transformation for much longer. We also have to consider that it's very possible after Pink Diamond decided to explore the Earth in secret, she spent hundreds of years constantly transforming day after day. Basically, she was training/exercising her transformation ability, meaning it would only make sense for her endurance to increase over time. We know gems do need to train to stay in top shape, and as we've seen plenty with Steven throughout the series, and somewhat with Peridot, your endurance increases as you train your powers.
You're on fire, Steven!
That's 3 shields in one day! Not too shabby!
So I don't have any problems with Pink Diamond transforming all the time and never growing tired by the time the rebellion gets into full swing. I also think it's very possible that after Pink was poofed, she chose to permanently reform into her Rose Quartz form as her new appearance. Even if this is not the case, the crystal gems still go to their respective rooms in the temple all the time, pretty much nightly. I feel like Pink would have to maintain her transformation for at most a day or two before being able to take a break once inside her room. But personally, I do believe she permanently reformed as Rose Quartz. She fully embraced this new persona, and that's why Steven's gemstone retained this orientation. Now, that whole gem orientation thing, that whole thing about having your gem rotate, which a lot of people have been up in arms about, I do consider it rather dumb, but for a very different reason from what I've seen many people complain about. People have been griping about how it's been a staple of the show when it comes to transformations for the gemstone to remain in place, that it's been a fixed object up until now. I do admit, this is a bit of a contrivance thrown in to make the twist harder to guess, but it's not so ridiculous that I can't accept it. I mean, come on, a gemstone rotating in place isn't exactly all that impressive when you think about it. I also have to bring up the concept of training to achieve something novel. Apparently, Peridot was the first of her kind to achieve metal powers simply because she really wanted to become useful in battle, and it took her barely any time at all to achieve this feat. What if Pink Diamond spent decades or even centuries training to rotate her gem for the purpose of transforming? Like, is it really that much of a stretch to believe it's an attainable feat for a diamond? I'd say no, it's pretty believable. Some people might disagree, of course, but I also thought Topaz trying to help Steven and Lars was super stupid and ludicrous. Feeling empathy and wanting to help them, but knowing she can't, sure. But to actually let them escape and risk the consequences of that action when she gets back to Homeworld? That's ridiculous. But hey, I've seen many people disagree with me that this is awful, atrocious writing, so standards for believability will differ from person to person, and I guess that's inevitable. Okay, sorry, I've gone off on a bit of a tangent there, and I got away from my main point. Here is the actual reason I find the gem orientation thing to be a bit dumb. Since a gem's physical appearance is, as Pearl once explained, sort of like a projection with mass, you can just project a fake gemstone elsewhere on your body. We know this is indeed possible as we've seen Amethyst do it as Jasper. And once you have that accomplished, you can merely project clothes that will cover up your real gemstone. Yeah, gems nearly always have their gemstone exposed, but there's no real reason for this outside of it being a design choice to make gems more easily identifiable and distinct. I mean, technically, if you're in battle, you would want your gemstone to be covered so the opponent doesn't know where they should target their attacks if they want to shatter you. The whole gemstone being exposed thing is likely a meta-level decision rather than something that makes in-universe sense, but may I remind you that Amethyst's gemstone is actually always nearly half covered by her clothes, and when Pearl transformed into Rose, the hair covered her forehead gemstone to conceal her identity. Basically what I'm saying is there's zero reason why you can't have your garments cover the real location of your gemstone. So back to Pink Diamond, having to reorient your gemstone for a disguise seems entirely unnecessary. There's a far easier way to transform, especially if you can choose the outfit you want to wear, which Pink Diamond easily could do for her rose quartz gemsona. Having Pink Diamond's gemstone rotate feels like something done solely because Steven can't have Pink Diamond's gemstone when he comes into existence without the story being changed as we know it. And for me, that's where the logic of the twist falls apart a little bit, and why I consider it dumb when you get into the nitty-grittiness of it all. Pink Diamond chose the harder and less believable route for her disguise, when the only reason for having chosen that route would be having Steven way in the future, which she clearly didn't plan all the way back then. So yeah, the twist is by no means airtight, and I don't think anybody out there would argue that it is. All that being said, I will give the whole gemstone rotating thing a little bit of praise if my theory turns out to be true. That theory is that Pink Diamond actually purposefully designed rose quartz cuts to have a gemstone shape that she would be able to emulate by rotating her own gem. If Pink Diamond created that cut of gems for the purpose of masquerading around as one of them, it does remove some of the feelings of contrivance associated with the twist. Even though, like I said, it would make far more sense for Pink Diamond to simply have clothes cover her real gem and then project a fake one on her arm or whatever. Okay, wow, that was a lot of time spent speculating about that topic. This next question, on the other hand, will be much more brief. Why did Pink Diamond not know about the cluster in the Earth? If she did, there's no way she would keep that a secret from the Crystal Gems. In fact, the Crystal Gems would have tried to stop it much earlier. Homeworld was experimenting on the shattered shards of the Crystal Gems to create abominations, and then decided to construct a geoweapon of massive proportions, all without Pink being any of the wiser to it? Well, I mean, I guess yes, that has to be what happened. I have to assume the concept of a cluster was only conceived after Pink Diamond was shattered, and it was implanted into the Earth between the time of the shattering and the corrupting laser being fired. Homeworld scrambling to inject a cluster into the planet while keeping it secret before blasting the planet may actually explain why Homeworld faction gems were left behind and got corrupted, and why the cluster was only in the mantle despite Peridot claiming it should be at the center of the Earth. I actually had a whole theory video about this concept that I made a while ago, and if you want to check that out, I feel like some of my ideas back then are only stronger based on what we know now. Okay, the last thing I want to raise questions about is why Pink Diamond's appearance differs from her mural. Body shape and the hair don't matter too much, those things can change when a gem wills it, that's like whatever. Also, we do have an answer outside of the show in that the murals were based on design concepts before the diamond designs were actually finalized. What I want to draw attention to is Pink Diamond's gemstone shape not matching that of her mural. That seems like a far bigger deal. We know the Pink Diamond twist was planned since before the murals were designed, including the gem rotation idea. But then, why was pink in the mural given a gemstone identical to blue and yellows? And on this topic, we also have to wonder, just why is Pink Diamond so small relative to her peers? It's been implied through imagery that White Diamond will be taller than yellow or blue, but based on the image, she's not that much taller. Pink, on the other hand, is an absolute runt in comparison. Pink Diamond is also heavily implied to be younger than the other diamonds. Is there some kind of ritual where a diamond becomes quote-unquote complete that Pink hadn't undergone yet due to her age and inexperience? Or is posing this idea completely ridiculous, and was the Crooniverse taking liberties with the mural to further cover up the twist and make it seem less likely? This is where I ask you, the viewers, to speculate on my behalf, and let me know what thoughts you got brewing in your brains. Pink Diamond's size and gemstone shape is what personally befuddles me the most, but of course feel free to post speculations and questions relating to all the revelations in A Single Pale Rose in general. I mean, technically the mural stuff was an issue ever since Jungle Moon. I've just held off talking about it until now because A Single Pale Rose actually 100% confirms Pink Diamond's size and appearance beyond a shadow of a doubt. Alright, thanks for watching everyone. A Single Pale Rose really shakes things up, and I'm curious to see how many of our questions actually get answers, and where this show goes from here. Just as a quick reminder before I bounce, I do have a Patreon, I have a Twitter account, and I stream video games over on Twitch. So follow the links in the description if you're curious about any of that. Do svidaniya, comrades.